Okay, welcome back to the build, everybody. In this video, we are going to cover installing the rest of the sound dampening on the chassis and also installing the sound block and the carpeting. So if this is of interest, stick around and stay tuned. Okay, so these are the supplies we're going to use. We're going to use the Damplifier Pro, which is the butyl rubber sound dampening, and this sticks to the inside of the chassis. And then on top of this, we're going to have this 1/8 inch closed cell foam. This is called Dynaliner from Dynamat. And then on top of that, we'll have carpeting. Now, I could have stuck the foam on top of the panels and then glued the carpeting onto the foam. But if I need to remove the carpeting, it would create a bit of a mess. So I came up with this idea to use these thin Geralite sheets. This is a 32nd of an inch. I may use a 1/16 of an inch on the sides. And basically on one side, I'll apply the foam, and then on the other side, I'll use some contact cement and attach the carpeting. Some of the edging of the carpeting, I'll need to add a banding, and I'll show how I do that as well. All right, so those are the supplies. Let's take a look at the patterns for the Geralite sheets. Okay, before we look at the patterns, we'll look at the Damplifier Pro attached to the chassis. You can see we have it applied to the top of the chassis, underneath the seats, inside the footwell, on the chassis members, and also underneath the top of the chassis. You know, the big challenge applying this is really cutting out all these areas that you want to leave bare. You know, anytime I'm mounting something, I want to cut it away. So I'm not compressing the butyl rubber only to have that bolt or that item loosen up. Like this area is for the side impact bar. That's for seat belt bracket. That's for the seat bracket. That's for the lap belt bracket. And on top we have the roll cage. Oh, we got something for the stereo there. We've got the amplifier, etc., etc. So it does take a bit of time to apply this stuff, but yeah, once it's in there, it should really quiet the car down. All right, now we'll take a look at the patterns. Okay, so I made all these patterns. I used cardstock, like 65-pound cardstock, and I just use masking tape and just connect all the patterns. It makes it easy just to place those smaller sections in the area and then cut out the necessary holes. But you can see, you know, I had to cut out certain areas, but it'll work out okay. The carpeting sections, I mean, they're not just gonna plop in and plop out because there'll be some electronic components screwed on top of them, but for the most part, they'll be semi-easy to remove if I need to replace a section or perhaps do a wardrobe change and change the color of the carpeting. All right, so I've got all my patterns done. Now I'm gonna go buy some Geralite sheets and we'll cut the panels out and we'll fit them in. Okay, moving right along. I've got the Geralite sheets now. I bought the biggest sheets they make, 36 by 48. I need 3 of these, and each one of these is about 80 bucks. I went with the 1/32 inch thick sheets all around. You know, they're pretty pliable, but to get these in place, they have to bend a bit, and there's enough structural rigidity to just sort of hold them up against the sides where they need to be. I'll use some Velcro or something like that to hold them in place. All right, I'm going to draw these and cut them out, and I'll test fit one more time, then we'll apply the carpeting. Okay, this worked out good. Just use the silver Sharpie. All right. I'll draw the rest up and then we'll cut them out. Okay, so here's the technique in cutting these Geralite sheets out. So even though I drew the lines out, if you do this freehand, you know, it does wave a little bit. So I clamped a yardstick, aluminum yardstick, very tightly onto the Geralite sheets. I used a block of wood underneath so it doesn't mar the sheets. And then I use this oscillating tool. And I keep it at a steep angle, and that seems to cut very smoothly without chipping the finish. So I sort of hold it at about this angle and just walk it down. All right, so I'm going to cut the rest of these out and then we'll take a look at them. Okay, so after many hours, I've got all these panels trimmed up. In case you want to do this, I'll point a few things out. So you can see, just like the damplifier, I have the cutouts for things that I want to attach directly to the chassis, like the side impact bars and the seatbelt anchors. Let's pivot the camera here. And you can see all the cutouts, the suspension bolts, the lower suspension pickup arms. I cut a little bit of the section out over here so I can slide that in and out of the interior tub. And I did the same thing on the driver's side. All right, now we'll take a look at a small test piece on applying the carpet to the Geralite. Okay, this is our first test piece. What I did was I oversized the carpet and I glued it onto the Geralite sheet. Once it dried, I used a X-Acto knife and I just cut away the carpeting, and I did it in a hole, you know, with a hole, with an interior cut, exterior cut, just to see if I could cut the carpeting very neatly. And it comes out perfect. I mean, this is glued on really well. Now, in some cases, I may have to finish the edge of the carpet. There's a seam down by the foot box. So I came up with this technique called serging, where this is polyester serging yarn, and I simply drilled small holes, 1/8 inch gap, and I used 4 strands of this yarn, and I just simply wrap it around. And that's sort of a nice way to finish it. So if I want to finish, say, around the side impact bar bases or any of the holes, I could choose to do this. And I could also do this after the fact, after these panels are all put together, which is sort of nice. All right, now we're going to start applying the carpeting, then we'll take a look, and then we'll call it a wrap. Okay, we're down in the Joel K workshop, and as usual, it looks like a bomb went off, but this is the way I like it. I can find everything I need. As soon as I start organizing it and putting things away, then I can't find anything. So when all the stuff I need is on the table, I know it's there somewhere, and I just move it around until I find it. Anyway, all right, let's get back to the topic at hand, which is the carpeting. So I have a piece of carpeting that's oversized, and this is the passenger floor in the foot box. So what I did was I scuffed this up with an orbital sander so that the glue sticks really well. I'm going to use this glue, 3M 77 glue, which is super strength. They have an ultra strength, but the super strength seems to work pretty good. I'll spray the carpeting, I'll spray this, and then I'm just going to apply it and then add some weights on here to hold it down. Let it dry for a day, and then I'll use a knife and I'll trim it up. All right, so we're going to glue this, and then I'll show you how we trim it up. Okay, here are the tricks of the trade, or the tools of the trade. We'll use an X-Acto with the number 11 blade to cut out the holes, and then just a straight edge razor to do the sides. Just use a fresh blade to make sure it cuts nice and smooth. Okay, we're all done. So this came out good. I mean, this is cool. It's nice to just have these carpet pads that you can just take in and take out. So, so anyway, I think this is good as is. I mean, these are all corners that are going to butt up against the other panels. This is going to be hidden under the interior tub, and this will go around the side impact bar. I may make a cap just to overlap the seam, or I can serge, using the serging yarn and finish this area off. But I can do that after the fact. All right, we're going to do some more panels, and then we'll take a look at what they look like installed. Okay, we're back down here in the workshop. A couple things. I switched out the adhesive I was using to 3M high strength 90 instead of 77. Everybody uses the 77 you can buy at Home Depot to cover their subwoofers and carpeting. It's just not the right glue. I found out that glue is only good up to about 150 degrees, and then it can start to get a little gooey and break down. This glue is good up to 250 degrees and is anti-moisture as well. And anything you want to do in a car interior, you want anti-moisture. So I'll leave the panels I did with the 77 glue in place, but we move on and we'll use the better glue going forward. Let's see. This is another thing I did. I added pull straps to a number of these panels where I need some help in removing them. So this is going to sit under the interior tub, and I want to be able to pull this up and get some bend in it to remove it. And you simply feed that through a slot in the Geralite and use some epoxy and some sheetrock tape to hold that in place. Now what I'll do is I'll take the closed cell foam, the Dynaliner, and I'll start to coat the back of these panels. Okay, this is worth covering. So this is the front forward panel on the driver's side, and I have an exposed edge on the carpeting. So I did that serging technique. We can get a close up here. And I pre-drill all the holes very close together using a template. And I use that polyester serging yarn, and it comes out really good. A nice, neat look on an exposed edge. And I have a couple more edges that I'm going to do, and then we'll take a look. Okay, before we move on, I attached the Dynaliner to the back of this. I have a couple different brands of this. This is from Dynamat. I also have another less expensive version of this I got from Second Skin Audio. But anyway, just simply cut this stuff out. This is the serging, and it's nice. I mean, look at the thickness. It's about 1/4 inch thick in total, without sort of the nap of the carpet. But I didn't want it too thick, and I've got sound dampening, heat block, sound block. This is the Geralite is fireproof, and then I got the carpeting. So I really like that. Okay, well, I think we're going to call it a wrap. I will say this was a ton of work. I started this in August. It's now the first week in December. I did some other things in the meantime, but it was a lot of work, a lot of fussing to get these parts all fitting the way they need to fit. But anyway, this is the driver's side, and all these panels have the closed cell foam on the back. This is the passenger side with all the cutouts. Now we'll segue over to the foot boxes. Okay, this is a good angle here so you can see all the detail. You see the seam down by the lower suspension pickup point. All the pieces with the pull tabs. You can see the thickness. Once again, it's not very thick. Some of these areas you can see are not carpeted. That's for clearance for the AC unit. All right, we'll take a look at the driver foot box. Okay, here's a good shot at the driver's side. You can see all the detail. If I zoom in, you can see that little extended area, and you can see all the serging. That finishes up the edge nice. Also, down by the lower suspension pickup points. There's a little bit of an overlap of the carpeting. I added serging there. But all in all, it looks good. Looks very professional. I'm very happy with the results. It's nice I'll be able to take these panels in and out. So anyway, hopefully this gave my fellow SLC builders some ideas on how to approach the carpeting. Appreciate you watching. Take care.